So in this video, I will talk about deploying a Laravel website with MySQL database on DigitalOcean. First of all, go to DigitalOcean, and I will link the link to DigitalOcean in the description bar. Go to Create Droplets, and then choose Ubuntu, choose a plan Basic, and then I'll use the smallest one for $6 a month. And I know that this one is actually small for my website and it will not be enough memory. If you're sure that your website is larger as well, you can use a larger droplet for this. I'll use London server, and then I'll connect with an SSH to my MacBook Pro, but you need to set it up before, and this is not covered in this video, so you'll have to figure it out yourself. And then add a few tags, and here it just will be deployment. And that's it. Let's just create the droplet. It will take some time to create, but you'll just wait for that. Okay, now it's created. You just click into it. Copy the IP address, SSH, root at that IP address that you copied, and then say yes. And now you connected to the server, and you see the files that you have at your root directory. And now I actually need to create a new user because I don't want to log into the server using root. So I'll add user. Oh, well, actually I use just Ubuntu. Set up a new password for it. Retype new password. And then just enter your full name. And you can just skip the other parts. I'll say yes. And now the user should have been created. If you exit and try to connect to it using this new user, it will not work because you need to actually give sudo rights to that user. So add user Ubuntu sudo, so that adds to sudo group. Next, let's make a directory. Make dir at home Ubuntu .ssh, where we're gonna be copying our authorized keys. So copy recursively rfv from root ssh to home Ubuntu folder. And now it says the authorized keys were copied. We also need to change the owner of this folder. So chown -r fv Ubuntu :Ubuntu /home /Ubuntu and /.ssh. Let's go into this folder, home Ubuntu, and we see that .ssh folder is created. Let's go out, and now we should be able to log in using this new user. So let's copy the IP from here, and let's SSH into the server using Ubuntu at this IP. Okay, now everything is working, and let's proceed with everything that we need to do on the server. So you see that the user changed to Ubuntu instead of root. So let's sudo apt-get update. Enter the password for Ubuntu that you created before. So this will update everything. Now sudo apt-get install Apache 2. Say yes to continue. This will create Apache server. Now let's install UFW. That's a firewall. And let's enable everything. So sudo UFW allow Apache in quotes, and then sudo UFW allow SSH, HTTP, MySQL, and HTTPS. This will open all the ports for the firewall. But we also need to sudo UFW default allow outgoing and default deny incoming. And we not need to enable the sudo UFW enable. Say yes. And now we can check the status. Sudo UFW status. And if we need to know the IP, we just type in hostname -i, and that will be the IP address, the first numbers on the left. So let's sudo service Apache to restart and restart our Apache server. Let's copy the IP and put it into our browser, and we see that Apache 2 is running, so everything is okay. So now let's install MySQL server. Say yes to continue. Now let's do the secure installation of MySQL. So sudo MySQL secure installation. Say yes. Then I choose 0 for low, and I enter new password for this, and re-enter new password. Yeah, say yes. Then say yes for remove anonymous, disallow remotely yes, and database no. Doesn't matter. You can say yes as well. And then reload privilege tables yes. Now let's start it. Sudo systemctl start MySQL. Sudo service Apache 2 restart. This command is just making sure that everything is running. Now I need to copy my SQL database, and I also need to copy the Laravel files. And I'm just enlarging my terminal so that you can see what I'm typing in. I'm running my server on my phpmyadmin, so I'm going through mump to that my phpmyadmin to copy the file of the database. So I'm going to php-myadmin, I'm going to my database, and then going to export, do a custom one. And here the only thing basically that you need to change is to save into a file, and that will make sure that everything is copied. So we see that the file is running, is being saved, downloaded, so, and this is the name of the file. If you're using other databases, just make sure that you save your database as a SQL file. So let's go into downloads where I copied that file, and now SCP, which is secure copy, this file csvdb3 SQL file to Ubuntu at that IP address :home. So now it's copied. If you go back and just see what's inside, we see that the file has been copied, the csvdb file. Now I just need to remember where my Laravel folder is, and I'll just copy this one, copy the path, then go to the terminal and secure copy this as well recursively, this folder to the same place, so Ubuntu at the IP address which I need to copy, and home as well, :home. So this didn't work because I think I have a extra space in between. Now it's running. So it must have taken a very long time, but I just will cut this video. So now on the server, I need to go to this time use app and see if everything copied, and especially this .env file, and everything looks to be copied. Next, let's deal with the database. So let's log in into MySQL, sudo MySQL user root. So now we are in MySQL. So let's select user from MySQL user, and we see that we only have a root user. We want to create a new user which can actually access this database. So let's create user. Let's call the user Ubuntu at localhost. Identified with MySQL native password and enter the password in quotes, close with a semicolon, and this should create a password. Let's select the users again, and you see that the user is created. Now let's grant all privileges to this user. Grant all privileges on csv underscore db dot star to Ubuntu at localhost. Close with semicolon should work, and now let's flush the privileges. Next, let's create the database. Create database csv underscore db. Let's use this database. Use csvdb. And now let's load that file from the SQL file. So to do that, do source and path to the file. So home, Ubuntu, and the name of the file csvdb 3.sql and semicolon. So this will load all the database. Now let's select everything from observations, and observation is just a table in the database, and limit 10, and this basically shows that everything is loaded and looks okay. Now let's just exit the MySQL. And the next part is I don't have a PHP installed yet on the server, so for that reason I need to reinstall everything that is PHP related. So if you look at the version of PHP now, it says that PHP not found. I need to first install the repository, so sudo add apt repository ppa://php. And now I need to install an older version of PHP, so sudo apt-get install PHP 7.3. So I'll say yes. So if you look at the PHP version right now, it shows that PHP is 7.3. So we now need to install the composer, and let's just go to the website with the instructions how to download the composer. I'll be copying those lines into my terminal, so I'm just preparing it for copying, and so that you can see what I'm doing. I have to do it line by line because I need to use sudo in front of each of those comments. So I'm copying each line, first one, type in sudo and paste this. Do the same for the second line. And for the third line as well. And for the fourth line. So I also need to run the command which is here, the moving command, so sudo mv, just copy it and paste. Now if you look at the version of the composer, we see that the version is the latest, but I need the older version. So for that I need to do sudo composer self update and 110.10. And again, enter the password for Ubuntu. If you don't need an older composer, you just don't need to do that. You just use the newer version of composer that you're using. For me, the version changed to 1.10.10 now. Let's clear. And let's see, now we need to move the time use app to var www HTML path. So copy recursively time use app to that path var www HTML. Now we can check in the folder whether everything is copied. And if you look at it, right, the hidden files are not copied. And we need them, particularly the env file. So let's copy the .env to that var www HTML folder. And let's go back there. And now we have the .env file here. Let's open that file in nano, sudo nano.env, enter the password. And here we need to change a few things right now. So, first of all, the DB port 3306 and the name for the MySQL database Ubuntu and the password that we entered for that database. Then save and exit. So we need to change access to these two folders, storage and bootstrap cache. So sudo chmod -r777 storage and bootstrap /cache. So you see that the storage access has changed, and then sudo a2 in mode rewrite. Systemctl restart Apache 2. Let's enter the password. So if you run the a2 in mode rewrite, it shows that it's already enabled. So let's do sudo nano etc apache 2 apache 2 conf, so config file for apache 2. Here we need to change a few things. Let's just scroll down. Until you see these directories, and particularly you need this directory var www. Here you change the allow override from none to all. Now save and exit. Let's restart Apache server. Now let's copy the etc apache to sites available 00 default.conf into a new configuration file in the same folder. So etc apache 2 sites available, and let's call it laravel.conf. Now let's open this file, sudo nano and the whole path etc Apache 2, sites available, and laravel.conf. So this is for port 80, and there are a few things that we need to change in this file as well. So first of all, we need to we need to change this document root from var www.html to add the / and public. Now we need to add a directory. So in brackets, type directory. And this path, var www.html public. And don't forget a / at the end, and close the bracket, close this directory. And inside here, we need to type in two things. Allow override all and require all granted. Now save and exit. So we need to use that configuration sudo a2 inside laravel.conf and sudo a2 decide the default configuration 000 default conf. Now let's restart the Apache again. Let's see if anything changed. So we get a mistake, an error that SQL cannot be accessed. So I think we haven't yet installed a few dependencies, which we will install right now. Usually if you type in sudo composer require doctrine / debug, it will give you hints about what type of extensions you actually missing. But here it will not work because I know that the memory is not enough to run my website. So it basically doesn't have enough memory. But I know what kind of extensions that I need to install, and I'll just install them without actually checking for what it's missing. So sudo apt-get install php 7.3 mbstring and give the password. Now do the same, install XML. I need to install zip and unzip. And php 7.3 -mysql. Let's restart the Apache. Sudo service apache 2 restart. Enter the password. And I made a typo. Let's restart. And let's refresh the page. And it looks like it's working. Let's check if queries work. Seems to be working. In the next step, we will install the security certificate. So I'll use the Certbot on Apache server using the Ubuntu 20 system, and here is just the way how we can do it is explained already. So let's just have it side by side and follow the instructions. We can skip number 2 because Ubuntu 20 already covers that, but we copy the code in number 3 and just paste it. Now install the Certbot, copy this command and paste it as well. Let's copy this prepare the Certbot command. And paste it as well. You actually need the domain already chosen. So let me just copy the IP address here and define my domain in Google Domains. I'm using Google Domains, but if you're using anything else, you can change the DNS addresses on your chosen domain provider. So I'm going to use this domain name that I have, which is called Colptech. Go to DNS and add all the information here where to reroute this IP address. So let's enter the IP address, then let's, for the pattern, let's put a star, put the IP address as well, add another one, and here just put www and the IP address. So we have the 3 different ones, empty one, a star, and www. I need to also change the type to A, and let's just save it. And it kicked out the IP address, so let's just paste it again and save again. So the DNS rerouting can happen, can take quite a long time, but let's see if it works. Let's go to colptech.com. And it actually already rerouted, but it shows an error because my server actually crashed. The Apache crashed because of not enough memory. Now at the end, let's just change our env file, sudo nano env, and change the app debug to false, so we don't see those errors. Now we go to Certbot back, and we will try to actually create the certificate for that domain that we already set up. So sudo certbot -- apache -d, and then the domain name colptech.com, and I also will need to add the www.colptech.com. So if you have your own domain, you need to add both of those, with and without www in front of it. So let's add an email address. And let's say yes to terms and no to promotional materials. So we need to use the SSL-conf, so it's number 2, the HTTPS. And it says that it successfully deployed the certificate. But we need to open this conf file, so sudo nano etc apache2 sites available laravel. So first let's change the laravel.conf here. So the rewrite conditions, let's just comment it out, and we will change it to reroute everything when it's not HTTPS. So RewriteCond % brackets HTTP close the curly bracket not equal on. So that means that when HTTP is not on, it will rewrite to that HTTPS address. And now let's change the LE SSL-conf. So we have the server name, okay, server alias, okay, everything basically looks okay here. And the port is also 443, which is HTTPS port, so everything is perfectly fine. Now let's test the automatic renewal. We just copy this command line and paste it in our terminal and run it. And it shows that it is successfully updated. So let's go to our website. And I forgot the host name. So let's go there. And it will say that it's not secure because you cannot actually go from the IP address. You should log in into colptech.com. Okay, it says there's server error because again I need to restart my Apache. I think I need to restart the MySQL server as well. And let's restart the server. And refresh the page. Okay, now everything is working. So basically, if your memory is small as well, you can later go into DigitalOcean and just update the size of your droplet as well, and make sure that your memory is okay for your website.